Coming up now on Animal Outtakes.
Now, the best way to watch these birds is to bring your binoculars.
Right. We're going to do some birding. It's a hobby that almost anyone can do.
He has a very interesting snout.
We'll meet this little lizard who comes with a massive name, all because of what is on the top of his head.
Tortoise this big, when it's warm, can easily go through about 2 heads of romaine lettuce in the course of the day.
Okay, and while they might be strictly vegetarian, can a sulcata tortoise make a good pet? This and much more straight ahead on Animal Outtakes. Hello and welcome to Animal Outtakes. I'm Marcia Panucci and this is my trusted co-host Zeus. It's a hobby that's quite popular and it allows you to enjoy nature, and there isn't much equipment needed. Bird watching. Yes, you can do it during the day or at night. You really don't even have to leave your house. And like any good hobby with birding, you're always learning something new.
You're sitting on a gem here.
Definitely.
And it's kind of a quiet gem.
Florida is, well, pretty flat. So when you see a large 85-foot tall mound like this one in Sarasota County, many would assume it was an old landfill. But they are mistaken. This area, called the Celery Fields, is man-made, but it actually was created to prevent flooding.
The Celery Fields was developed for conservation here in Sarasota County. How about when this started and why did it start?
Well, years and years ago, the houses, especially along the Philippi Creek Basin, whenever we had storms or hurricanes, many of the houses would get flooded out actually, sometimes dozens at a time. And so it was a perennial problem for the county. And so the solution was that the county purchased 300 acres originally from the last remaining celery farmers, actually, and that was in the early 90s. And then it took them about 5 or 6 years to re-engineer the 300 acres in order to hold the capacity of water in times of flood. And there are gates and control gates, there are canals and berms all around the system. And when there's a heavy flood, the county can close the gates and minimize the flow downstream. So it's a public safety facility, basically.
But in the process, it became a beautiful area for all of us to enjoy, and especially to attract birds.
Right.
The Gulf Coast birds.
Right.
So who might we identify when we're here at Celery Fields?
Well, we've recorded about 224 species of birds.
The county planted more than 200,000 plants, attracting wildlife and lots of birds.
What type of birds would we find here?
Well, this is traditionally a marsh or a swamp area, and historically this was actually a sawgrass marsh eons ago. And so you would get marsh birds. You would get gallinules and snipe and rails and wading birds. The wading birds that you normally see around town, herons and egrets and so forth, they are swamp and wading birds that they get their food from water. They're fish eaters. They eat the critters that are in the water. So.
Now, the best way to watch these birds, I take it, because I saw you walking around with binoculars, is to bring your binoculars,
right.
Come early in the morning,
Right.
and take a look.
That's right. And the county, as part of their restoration, they built 2 boardwalks. And every day on these boardwalks, we have docents, birders, people who love to share their birding knowledge with people. And you don't even have to have binoculars to come and enjoy them. You can just come out there, they have a telescope, and they usually put it on a bird that it's always fun to see, a bald eagle or a kingfisher or something.
In this high-tech world that we live in today, where we're always looking at the internet and just not really experiencing, why then does something like the Celery Fields become so important? Do we really need it? to see the birds, to understand the ecosystem? Or could we exist without it?
Oh no, we couldn't. We couldn't. One of the things about getting outside and looking at birds, for example, which is my particular interest, it increases your powers of observation in other areas. You see a bird in a particular tree, and you wonder why that bird is in that tree. And what is that tree? What is that tree called? You need to get out there to experience it, and everything's connected in nature. And so there's something unbelievably refreshing about birds and about wildlife.
And birding is a hobby that can happen just about any place you travel to. You can check out the National Audubon Society's website for more information on species and groups in your area. Here's a fun fact. There's about 10,000 different species of birds in the world. So if you're a bird watcher, you likely won't run out of new birds to spot anytime soon. From birds to reptiles, our next animal is a unique kind of lizard. He's called a Rhinoceros Iguana, and I'll bet that you'll be able to tell why he gets that name.
Troy,
Yes.
you have got a fruit here, and he's called a Rhinoceros Iguana.
Yes, ma'am.
And he's looking at me,
Yep.
and I can't tell if he's in love or he's unhappy.
You know, it's his first time away from the facility. He's 2 years old. Yes, this is the Rhinoceros Iguana, known as the Goliath Dragon. Don't ask me why.
But you know what's very interesting? He's got a leash.
Yep.
What do? Take him for a walk?
And a little harness. It's his first time away, and if he got down, we wouldn't want him. They're a very rare animal. You know, they're the most common in the pet trade, but not a lot of people have them. And I wouldn't want him to get up in a tree and get stuck out here, and we'd have a nightmare. This way, he's got a little leash. If he jumps down, he can't get too far. And they're fast. They are fast.
He has a very interesting snout.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Yes, these little horns on the top of his head is how he gets his name, the Rhinoceros Iguana. So he's going to show you inside his mouth too there, it's real blue. These are little bony structures that look like a little rhino.
Yes.
And they sit there and they're real hard, and as they get bigger, that's how they get their nickname, the Rhino Iguana.
I see, and he's got that rounded snout.
Sure does. Yep. They're pretty much terrestrial. They're not an arboreal species. They spend a lot of time on the ground. They're actually very, very tolerant of other animals and people on their native land. People feed them. So there's a little spot on the top of the head here. It's almost like considered a third eye. So their brain detects stuff coming over their head. Did you see how that works?
Oh, I saw that.
And that's a defensive mechanism for predators. So like if a bird flies over or something comes over top of his head, he can see it. And so what he's trying to say is, I'm going to open my mouth and kill you if you grab me. He's just doing it out of fear. But he's doing really well for his first time away. At the house, he's very, very comfortable at the house. So he sits with everybody. Even my mother comes over and tickles him, and he stands there. Everybody loves him.
Good for Mom.
His name is Oogie Boogie.
Oogie Boogie. Now, he's not exactly the prettiest.
Yeah, I mean...
Does he suffer from not being gorgeous and handsome?
No, what I can do is I can turn to the side here. He's in shed right now. So let me spin this way. And if you look at the shed, he's dark pattern. This is his old skin. So he's growing. They're actually very blue. They have a very blue tint.
That gets to be very pretty. Right in here.
Yep,
That's
his
very,
whole
very
body
pretty.
gets blue, and as inside of his mouth is blue too. So as they go into their breeding season and stuff, they get real blue and really gorgeous, real cobalt dark blue.
Now, what does his diet consist of?
They're omnivorous, so they're opportunistic. They eat a lot of vegetation, crickets, bugs, fish, anything that they can grab a hold of. I mix the diet up. We use a zoological diet. I give him a form of tortoise chow, which is a pellet form, and then we give him little bits of meat sometimes, and then a lot of greens and a lot of healthy stuff for his body so he can metabolize good.
Now, how big will he get?
About 54 inches. So he's going to get anywhere, they average anywhere from 2 feet to a little over 5 feet.
Okay.
But very, they're one of the girthiest lizards on the planet. And they have another cousin called the Cuban rock iguana that can live up to 80 years.
Oh my goodness.
Those horny bumps on the top of the snout may be where the Rhinoceros Iguana gets its name. But then again, it might have something to do with their hefty size. While the Rhinoceros Iguana won't get as long as a more common green iguana, the Rhino Iguana can weigh nearly twice as much. Next up on Animal Outtakes, this kind of eagle may not be as well known here in the States, but one look and you will see she commands attention. There is no mistaking she's an eagle.
Eagles do have an attitude. They're very high-strung birds. And she knows that she's dominant. She knows she's top of the food chain, and she will remind you of it.
For thousands of years, we've been humans' best friend. You've been through a lot, and we've been right there with you. A dog is part of the family, a confidant, and a friend who always knows how to get into your heart. So what happens to our beloved companions when we can no longer care for them? This is why we've created Dante's Den, an innovative, state-of-the-art facility that will provide care for up to 100 dogs.
Dante's Den is a community for joyful dogs.
Millions of Americans face uncertainty when planning for the future of beloved pets who may well outlive them. Dante's Den is a charitable organization, so in whatever capacity you can, please lend your support so that we may continue this most wonderful work.
Dante and I would like to thank you for watching and for also opening up your hearts to our wonderful community of joyful dogs.
Learn about the many ways you could become involved by visiting dantesden.org.
The crested caracara is listed in Florida as threatened. Their numbers have declined due to many factors, including illegal hunting. Help support efforts to eliminate the threat of illegal hunting, not just for birds of prey such as the caracara, but for all wildlife. Always alert authorities if you see people hunting illegally, or if you see wildlife parts, such as feathers, being sold illegally.
Welcome back. Eagles are a type of bird that gives off a sort of noble demeanor. They are a symbol of power and strength. And as you're about to see, our next guest proves just that.
Louis, it is rare that we can get up close to an eagle. And this is an eagle.
That's what they say.
That's what they say. But this is not an American eagle that we're used to seeing.
No, it's not. This is a tawny eagle, and they're native to Africa.
I would imagine the tawny is because of her coloring.
Exactly. It's a beautiful coloring.
She certainly does. And very, very regal, but a little spicy here with us, huh?
Yeah. Eagles do have an attitude. They're very high-strung birds. And she knows that she's dominant. She knows she's top of the food chain, and she will remind you of it.
The eyes. We have seen some gorgeous eyes on the owls that you have brought to us. These are very human-like.
Yes, and they're very powerful. They could see from very, very far away. Their main sense is their eyes, and they could see very, very far and home in on whatever prey they're trying to find.
Is this bird protected?
It's not a protected species. It's not native. It's not an endangered species. There is abundance of them in Africa.
There are. But they're rather rare here, wouldn't you say?
Yes, we're very far from Africa, so you don't find them a lot over here unless they're in captivity.
Sure. Now, what does she usually have as her diet?
Well, her diet varies. She will eat rats, she'll eat quail, she'll eat rabbits. Depending on her weight, she has a very diverse diet. Now, in the wild, it's a little different. In the wild, they do hunt small mammals, and also they have a very cool trick to eat sometimes. When there's a carcass in the wild, and vultures are picking at the carcass, these little guys here will fly right behind the vulture, very quietly and slowly, and bark at them. And when they scare the vulture will throw up all his food because it's too heavy to fly, and then she gets a free meal and she had work for.
Well, I would say that's very ingenious.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. What is the life expectancy in captivity?
In captivity, they've been roughly around 40 to 50 years. They could live for a very long time if properly taken care of.
You know, we talk about in captivity versus in the wild, and a lot of our audience doesn't always understand, why do we keep some of these birds in captivity? Why do we nurture them? Why do we protect them?
In my personal opinion is, not everybody's going to be able to go travel to see one of these animals. They do bring a lot of positive in educating us how different animals work. Some people think they see one animal and they're like, that's the way the whole species of the whole animal is. And they're all varied, just like us humans from different parts of the world, different animals from different parts of the world. They do vary, and it brings more education to in your face. Some people could learn about things reading, and other people have to see it physically to be able to understand how it works. And I think if properly taken care of, an animal in captivity is not a bad thing. With some of the animals, it's the best conservation. Sometimes we cannot have them in the wild, but we've been known to bring animals in captivities, get their populations healthy enough to return them back to the wild. And it helps a lot with the problems that we have in the world for extinct species.
When you feel that you'll get her trust, how will she tell you, I do trust you, Dad, I really do?
The way that I feel her trust is when she allows me to be around her and she's not defensive. She'll be like, okay, just another day, we're just gonna hang out here today. But that will take some time. Sometimes it might take months, it might take years, but it's all up to her. And my job is to keep her healthy, keep her safe, and work on our relationship for the rest of our life.
Well, you know, she has a stylish figure. What is she weighing in at?
Right now, today, she's at a slim 6.3 pounds.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, which to most of us, like I said, does not seem like a lot of weight until you get a whole 6.3 pounds in your hand. Then it becomes very heavy.
And she also has to fly, so the bigger she is, the more downdraft she's going to have.
Exactly, but she does have a very large wingspan, and she should show up for us. And with those big wings, she's able to fly just fine.
And that's the iconic pose right there of an eagle. She gave us her best.
There are about 60 different species of eagles in the world, and 2 are found right here in North America. Can you guess which ones? Yep, you've got it. The bald eagle, the symbol of the United States of America, and the golden eagle, who usually can be found in the western United States. Well, a tortoise is slow-moving and extremely quiet. But before you purchase one of these from the pet shop, you should know they won't stay little for long. Dr. Don tells us all about the sulcata tortoise, next in Pet of the Week.
In the real estate business, trust is important. It's not just about money, it's a place where we live and create memories. Buying a home is such a big investment, you want to find the right one. You don't want to be sold a home, you want someone you can trust to help you find the right home. I am proud to work at an agency where these values matter. I would love to be your realtor. I am Chandra Boone, and I'm a proud realtor at SWC Properties.
Attention, this is an important message for anyone who has taken Xarelto or Pradaxa. If you or a loved one took the blood thinner medication Xarelto or Pradaxa and was then hospitalized for internal bleeding, you may be entitled to significant compensation. Xarelto and Pradaxa have been linked to serious, even fatal internal bleeding. If you suffered a stroke, heart attack, or serious internal bleeding, or if a loved one died after taking Xarelto or Pradaxa, call us now. Our network of attorneys have years of experience fighting the big pharmaceutical companies and is ready to fight for you. Potential claims are being reviewed for users of Xarelto or Pradaxa who have suffered severe bleeding or hemorrhaging, stroke, or even death. Our network of experienced attorneys is ready to fight for you. You won't pay a thing unless your case is settled. Call today for a free confidential consultation. Don't fight this alone.
Please call 800-928-6604. That is 800-928-6604.
It is the largest species of land tortoise in the world. An adult sulcata can weigh about 200 pounds. But a pet that big means they likely will be hefty eaters too. So this begs the question, is a sulcata tortoise the right pet for you? Dr. Don tells us more.
Dr. Don, we love turtles, and this is a sulcata.
It's a tortoise, all right.
Okay.
Sulcata, or an African spur-thighed tortoise. And it's one that's not, tortoises are the land turtles. They have like elephantine feet. They're not the aquatic turtles that swim in aquariums and ponds. That's another show, okay? Total different care. And they range in size. This is about a 2-year-old to 3-year-old girl that was an owner give up. And you see the pyramiding of the scutes. Each of these are called a scute. They should have kind of a dome shape. So the kid's probably fed an inappropriate diet, a little too much protein, etc. These are ones that are true a vegetarian kind of thing. They love like the greens, the mixed greens, etc. Occasional vitamins, that kind of thing. They're meant really to be outdoors. And if you have a tortoise, if you live in the South, if you live in Florida, if you live in Texas, Alabama, desert Southwest, you can have this tortoise. They're great. They're like Africa's version of a gopher tortoise. They can get over 100 pounds. I've seen them like 200 pounds, and they can live about 200 years, so it's going to be a generational pet. But it's not going to be something you can take care of in an apartment in New York. Most of these guys I wind up getting for free all the time. Hey, I can't take care of my 100-pound tortoise. I'm moving. I just got stationed somewhere else. I got married, divorced, whatever. Or my tortoise keeps escaping. They can like break through a chain link fence.
I remember when I was a child, my tortoise was in my bathtub until my mother got a hold of that tortoise and out to the backyard it went. You mentioned something very interesting about the domes on the shell and of the discoloration. And why do you feel that that happened?
Inappropriate diet. Inappropriate levels of calcium, phosphorus, vitamin D3, and it won't affect, it'll be cosmetic. But if the kid's okay and lives outside year-round now, and the weight is fine, they should feel heavy when you pick up a tortoise. They should feel, imagine them like half full of water. And once again, when you're done playing with your tortoise, you wash your hands. 5% salmonella rate, nothing compared to a snake. But once again, not for everybody, not for people that are super immunosuppressed, immunocompromised, and do your research, find out if you can have one of these guys, and if you can meet their needs. And if you can't, don't get them. Tortoise this big, when it's warm, can easily go through about 2 heads of romaine lettuce in the course of a day.
Okay.
So make friends with your green grocer.
That sounds great.
By the way, the waste at produce markets is phenomenal. They'll also eat like tomatoes with thumbprints in them, and bananas that are quote too ripe. Banana that's yellow with brown spots. That's the right banana. People don't want to buy them like that. If you had a pile of banana meat and banana skins, they'd eat the banana skins first, then they'd eat the banana meat. They're marvelous animals.
These guys would love it. Absolutely love it.
They'll eat apples, you name it. They're just produce eating machines.
Well, Raquel, you just lived up to your name. Just a gorgeous girl. As Dr. Don would stress, do your research before you become the parent to any animal. Make sure you are the right fit for each other. Next up, some of your questions are answered in Ask the Vet.
For thousands of years, we've been humans' best friend. You've been through a lot, and we've been right there with you. A dog is part of the family, a confidant, and a friend who always knows how to get into your heart. So what happens to our beloved companions when we can no longer care for them? This is why we've created Dante's Den, an innovative, state-of-the-art facility that will provide care for up to 100 dogs.
Dante's Den is a community for joyful dogs.
Millions of Americans face uncertainty when planning for the future of beloved pets who may well outlive them. Dante's Den is a charitable organization, so in whatever capacity you can, please lend your support so that we may continue this most wonderful work.
Dante and I would like to thank you for watching and for also opening up your hearts to our wonderful community of joyful dogs.
Learn about the many ways you could become involved by visiting dantesden.org.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
If you're depressed, drinking, and using drugs, you may need help. And the Affordable Care Act guarantees coverage of substance abuse. Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment.
I had problems just getting to sleep, drinking and using pills every night.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Are you losing hope? You can recover and get back on track. back. Call now for hope and help with proven, gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I have something to hold on to for strength. I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call the Addiction Hope and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares.
Call 1-800-764-8708. That's 1-800-764-8708.
I'm calling in regards about my mother, and I'm here, and I just want to thank you because it saved my mother's life yesterday. And I'd like to know the names of the people that came in and saved her so I could call and thank them. And she's doing fine. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you.
When you fall and cannot get up, an accident can turn into a tragedy. But with Life Alert, one touch of a button can get you help fast. Life Alert saves a person from a catastrophe every 10 minutes.
Life Alert is a lifesaver. If it weren't for Life Alert, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-962-4112. That's 1-800-962-4112. Call now, 1-800-962-4112. For a free brochure, call 1-800-962-4112.
Some of the most common foods found in our refrigerators can mean trouble for our pets if they eat them. Some of the most troublesome include chocolate, ribs, onions, and grapes.
Well, grapes and raisins can both be toxic to dogs and cats. Now, some dogs like grapes and they will go for them, and some dogs do not. We don't really know exactly what is toxic in the grape, if it's the skin, if it's the seeds, if it's the fruit inside, and nor do we know exactly how much they have to consume. It seems to be some variability to that. Some dogs can eat a few grapes and have no problems, and other dogs can eat a few grapes and can cause some kidney disease. If they were to consume a grape, if you were to drop one and they consumed it, definitely call your vet and let them know.
For a single grape, your vet may have you keep an eye out for signs of gastrointestinal distress, a change in water consumption, or loss of appetite. But all that changes when more grapes are eaten.
If they were to consume a large amount of grapes, I would say then call your vet and plan on taking them in.
Great advice from the doc as usual. We hope you've had fun and learned a thing or two along the way. Zeus and I will be back here again next week with even more animals and some wild adventures. Until then, thanks for watching.
Join us this Saturday night at 7 o'clock and 11:30 for the House to Home Show, featuring some of the finest homes for sale right here on the Sun Coast. Whatever your taste, you're certain to find properties that satisfy your particular buying preferences. Presented by SWC Properties right here on ABC 7.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com for Chef Judy's favorite recipes, restaurant guide, and more. Go to mysuncoast.com/dining.
For years, I told everyone my Craftmatic adjustable bed was the greatest until I got the new Craftmatic Legacy. It has an adjustable pillow feature that's awesome. You're gonna want one too when you see how little they cost.
If you've ever had a bad night's sleep, call and price the new Craftmatic Legacy. It has so much more than other adjustables and still costs up to 50% less, featuring a rising adjustable pillow rest, bedside power plugs, under-bed night lights, and more. Available in all mattress types with optional heat and soothing massage for as much as half the price of Tempur-Pedic, Sleep Number, and other adjustables. Enjoy temporary relief of low back pain, nighttime heartburn, mild arthritis. Adjust the rising pillow feature to help align your head, neck, and shoulders. See for yourself with our 30-day in-home trial. So call and price one today for less, up to 50% less.
You get so much more and it still costs less. You gotta see how little they cost.
Call 1-800-237-0214. That's 1-800-237-0214. Call 1-800-237-0214. Call now.
ABC 7 News at 7, weeknights.